Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to.
Join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical, transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. My name is Jay, and this is Pod 134. And I'm back with this brand new year, 2025, with my fiery and amazing co-host, as always, Lita Herman.
Welcome back, Inspired Actioneers, and Happy New Year's. Jay, before we jump into our topic for today, I was thinking, let's talk a little bit about the I-Ching and our annual I-Ching reading we do for the coming year.
Sure. Happy New Year, everyone, Inspired Actioneers. We're just so happy to be here. And if you're not familiar with I-Ching, we think if you're listening to our podcast and you come to the alchemylearningcenter.com, you might be into it. You might dig it. So we're going to give you a little bit of what we know, just a little primer on the I-Ching. There's some people who are super duper 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 into it.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners
we're kind
are.
of like right in the middle of newbie and extremist. So we're in that middle there. So probably where you are if you're listening to this. So I'm going to let Lita talk a little bit.
For those of you that are new to the I-Ching, it's also known as the Book of Changes, which basically means it's a divination manual, and it's one of the older classics of Chinese literature from about 1000 BC.
Yeah, that's pretty old.
Yeah, and it's been used as a guide for centuries for many Chinese, something to consult whenever you have a decision to make.
And there's many ways you can use it, but let's just tell folks out there how we use it at New Year's, almost every year for quite like 10 years
a long
now,
time.
maybe more.
We just love to take stock in the previous year and envision what we think the new year will look like. And all that planning, we like to ask some questions.
Yes, and guess what? There's an ancient system called the I-Ching that is right there waiting if we ask better questions.
Yes, that's
right.
Your favorite.
It was made for this.
It's your favorite phrase, asking better questions. So it's perfect, Jay. And it helps to ask a yes-no kind of question, something not too complicated, something like, should I take that trip this year? And then you consult the I-Ching.
Yeah, and I like it to be a little bit specific, like should I take that specific trip? Like where do you want to go? Or, like a time and something that helps as you get more into it. And so there's books and there's apps, and if you want to go old school, you can throw 3 coins. You can use pennies, although we have some Chinese coins that we also use. They're very inexpensive and easy to get and stuff, but you can use pennies. They work too. They have heads and a tail. That's what you're looking for. Or some kind of distinguishing pattern that you would see on each side of the coin. And then you throw these 3 coins 6 times, and each time you throw it, you do a little observation and write it down, and then you kind of correlate that to a chart, and then
and if you're new, it's a bit complex. And if you're new to this, it's easiest just to look up a guide of how to write down your results. And I think, Jay, it would be a good idea for us to include in the show notes the guide that we love to use, which is from divination.com.
Yes. It is a good place to start.
Yeah. So
it's a very positive one.
Yeah. And we like it also because it's artistic. They have some cards that you can buy, some oracle cards.
It goes with a book. It's very nice.
Yeah. They have an app even that you just shake your phone and then you get your reading. So
if you're super LA, then go ahead and shake your phone.
Yeah.
But no, I'm joking. Don't get mad. But you can throw the coins, shake your phone, shake your booty. I don't care. Yeah. Just shake something.
Shake something.
Three things 6 times.
Yes. And at the end of the reading, you get 2 what's called hexagrams that correspond to the book, the I-Ching. And you read those, and then you get to interpret what that means for you.
And that also goes into many levels of changing lines, past, future, like all these different things. So you can take it as far or little as you want. I mean, it's kind of fun, and it's kind of fun for us anyways. And the themes are useful. I love reading them and think about them all the time, how I apply them to life. So
me too.
I do it more than just on New Year's, but I don't know, it's kind of cool.
So each year we ask like 3 to 5 questions about the coming year. And sometimes the answers we get, we kind of sense how we feel about the answer. It's not a definitive answer, but it gets you thinking. And so let's say you asked about that trip and you want to go really badly. And so you're hoping for a good reading. Well, even before you throw the coins, just the fact that you want that so much, that's an interesting fact that you can kind of recognize.
I-Ching red flag. Boing.
Yeah.
No expectations, no judgment, no good, no bad, no right or wrong. Just you have to kind of think about the question before you throw, or
And-
shake your booty, or shake whatever.
And sometimes like you're throwing these coins because you have a lot of self-doubt. You don't trust yourself. Like maybe you don't need to even consult the I-Ching because you're so sure that you want to do that trip. So
Yeah, well,
it's interesting.
I think it's where you are also in your life, in your self-cultivation practice, your meditation practice, your alchemy practice, whatever you're doing, it's where you are. So have some fun with it. We love to do it. And some years are better than other years, but we always just kind of do it as part of our yearly event. And so that's the I-Ching. And if you haven't used before, again, there's many translations. And like we said, the one that we like, which also has beautiful cards, is divination.com. We'll put it in the show notes. And I mean, Lita has this like gold turtle with the coins, you have to shake it.
Yes.
It's really cool. But that's our interpretations of the ones that we like. And that's our very, very, very simple I-Ching for beginners description of the I-Ching. Because you can like really like spend the rest of your life working on the I-Ching.
Yeah. And we just think it's
Or
great.
shake your app and be right there.
And so it's just a great way to kick off your 2025 year.
Yeah, so you can ask I-Ching, should I listen to any more of this podcast? Shake, 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 shake.
Hopefully
shake,
you'll
shake,
get a
shake.
good reading.
Yes.
All right. So for today's episode, we're back with more of season 8's theme of the 13 ghost points and living more authentically as you in your life. And in our last episode, we talked about how you can come to trust yourself more deeply and see the world more clearly. And in this podcast episode, we're moving on to 2 more key themes: how we can be ourselves with others, especially those we have heart connections with.
Which is so important to our authenticity in our relationships.
Yes. And then the other theme is how can we walk our true destiny path in life?
Because we all know what that feels like to be taking a detour or 2 or 3 from our lives.
Yes. So let's just look at today's episode as ways to navigate 2 really important aspects of every person's life. How do we fulfill our true destiny and be connected with those around us at the same time?
Wow. You said that so dramatically.
I know, it
Be
is
connected
dramatic.
So yes, because you could see how the people around you are often the cause of you taking a detour on your path, whether good or bad. Remember, no good, no bad, no right or wrong, but it's the path, the detour. So either you're doing it for others and forgetting about yourself, or you're just putting them first and you're waiting.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not quite the path that you may have been supposed to be on, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah, sometimes it's doing what others tell you to do, even though it doesn't feel right inside.
Yeah, so in that reference, let's start with the heart, because that's really where we need to start.
Yes, and that's the next of the 13 ghost points. It's called Ghost Heart.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Right? Wait, on that note, before we go on, 2025 in the Alchemy Learning Center and the Inspired Action Podcast, we have a lot of stuff going on. So let's take a little break on this and tell people what's going on.
So this year, we're really focusing on our listeners, and we want to help you bring all of these concepts into your lives in meaningful ways.
Yeah, we want to create a path for you to walk on if you want to work on this alchemy journey in your life right now. We're trying to create it so it's easy and simple. We're just trying to really, just share what we have in the Learning Center.
And we realized over the past years that the hardest thing for people is getting started with things like meditation or Qigong. We always hear from people who've wanted to start a meditation practice that it's just really hard to stick with it.
And I'm living proof too, because I was that way for many, many, many years. I knew I wanted to do it, and I just didn't have the container or the structure or the right community, all these excuses everyone has, right? Like time or whatever. But I knew I wanted to do it. And since I've had it in my life now for quite a long time, it's who I am now. So we want to help share that and provide you with a structure, support system for not just talking about your spiritual practice, but actually having one, success, feeling a sense of accomplishment, even if it's a 100-day challenge, even if it's 1 week of meditation, even if it's 3 days in a row of Qigong. Those are all accomplishments. And that's what we like to celebrate in the Alchemy Learning Center.
Because that accomplishment is actually putting yourself first, really letting you do you.
You do you, the real you.
Yes.
Let's find the real you. And I always say self-cultivation is a little selfish, but in a good way.
Yeah. What's hard about you doing you is that most people find the real you is often in conflict with others around you. So your family, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, it's hard to navigate all of those people and still do you.
That's a lot of you in that sentence
Yes.
there. A lot of do in that you.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the infrastructure we all need. Almost like a spiritual technology. This is not something you can just get an app for, although we do have an app for it. Yes. Just to keep you on track. And if you find your stuff, I'm going to almost say, I find your spiritual in the app.
Well,
But no,
we do
that.
have an app, and we want to say to you, it'll solve all your problems. But the truth is,
That's funny.
yeah, nobody can transfer cultivation to you. Only you can do your self-cultivation.
Yeah, and if anyone says this is the only way or the right way, you should be like, no way. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own way to meditate. We're just giving you some tools to find your own way, find your journey. And we like to do it through self-cultivation and alchemy.
Yeah.
So there's the other ways. There's a million ways. There's no one set way, but this is the way that we're doing it, that we're sharing. So if you resonate,
But
check it out.
doing it alone is hard.
And sometimes boring.
Yeah. And so we've created a community, and that's the key to it. So this year, we'll be launching our first 100-day challenge with our Alchemy Learning Center members. And so what's a 100-day challenge, Jay?
It's 100 days of a challenge.
Okay.
I think I'm joking. Okay, so the way we envision it is going to be, we're going to move through as a group, as a cohort, so to speak, the Alchemy Learning Center as a whole. Anyone who's a member, you can join this 100-day challenge, and there's support. We have some of our senior students who are going to help out. We're going to be there. We're going to take you through some of the things that we do. We're going to explain some of the videos we have in the Learning Center, where to start, how to keep it going, what kind of daily exercise, what kind of modification to your diet, whatever the thing that you want to do, even if it's like drinking enough water each day. That's sometimes a huge challenge for some people, myself included. I'm on that one, right? So that's what we're going to do. That's what we are doing, but we're going to now open it up a little. We do that with our students. We do that with ourselves. We do that all the time. But now we're going to just see if there's some people in our big, growing, wonderful membership throughout the world, if they want to do that. Like I said, if you've thought that you wanted to do it in the past and you've tried and you've tried and you've tried, hey, this is another way to try and see if this resonates with you.
Well, and also just knowing you have a community who wants to help you be accountable to yourself. That's what this is all about. You don't have to do it alone.
And it's a positive, like-minded, safe space. We have the Reset Club. We have all these little things that we try to enhance with our students that we're now going to try to do with the membership as a whole. We'll see. It's a test. It's a beta.
Yeah. So if you want to join us and other alchemists in training from around the world, please head over to Alchemy Learning Center at alchemylearningcenter.com. One more thing. We have a webinar coming up on January 14th.
Things. You only have one more thing? Okay, go ahead. So if you listen to this live.
Yes, we have January 14th, 2025.
Wow, that's coming up fast.
We have a chaotic energy webinar coming up. So if you have been interested in learning more about chaotic energy.
And it's timely for this time of the year. No matter where you live in the world.
Yes,
it's chaotic.
It's been sometimes a tough year for people already. It's getting started. And so if you feel a little chaotic.
We're going to teach you the Chinese medicine, what it means, how to clear it in yourself, how to clear it in others, how to clear it in your dog, your cat, your animal, anyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be coming up. And who are we doing that with, Lita? Because we have a special guest.
We're doing that with one of our students.
Yay, one of our senior students.
Yeah, one of our senior students, Diego Garcia.
Yes, and he is an alchemist in training, like we all are. And he's going to join us, and we're going to just have a good old time.
Yeah.
So that's coming up January 14th. Also, quick, before we go back to our podcast, if you like this podcast, at any moment, even for a second, if you could do a quick rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts, it just helps other people in the world find this little podcast. It's growing. We're all over the world, and we're just having a good old time. So anyway, we can get that word out. Thank you. We're very grateful.
Okay, so back to our regularly scheduled program here. We left off with the idea of ghost heart, and this is the idea that it is hard to be true in your relationship with people.
society is so powerful in its influence over our hearts. How can you not think that's going to be a challenge, right? Think of all the tragic love stories of the past, present, and future, right? I mean, that's what makes the world kind of go around in many ways.
Yeah, like sometimes people try to tell people who they can't love, and then you fall in love with that person you can't love, like Romeo and Juliet, or even like someone of the same sex or a different race. I mean, there's been over centuries of this, you know.
Or the neighbor, or the feuding this, or, like this on and on and on and on. We could think of hundreds of, taboo relationships that society has come up with over the eons, and how people have either obeyed or disobeyed society's will and either died inside or physically died for it. In other words, they did do it or they didn't do it. Like they gave in or they said, F it, and we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah, because in a way, it's like a death when you go against your heart. And it can feel like something dies inside you.
Yes, and there's also other issues that go along with that death inside you, your heart there. For example, surrounding trust, like people hurt you, then the trauma of what that causes you to feel shut down. And it's like a domino.
Yeah.
A domino effect of tick, 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 tick. So you lose trust, you start to have fear, you start to have worry. The trauma just grows.
Yeah, like the trauma of a broken heart. I mean, remember, we already did the point about trust and how we can doubt ourselves. So if that doubt just keeps getting deeper and deeper, maybe it's messing with your ability to love at all, to love anyone. Maybe the hurt of the past is causing you to not connect with anyone anymore. Remember, we talked about that fortress in the last episode, and you might stay in that protected little fortress rather than come out and play and risk your heart being hurt again. Because after you've been hurt, your heart needs to recover before you might be willing to risk connecting with anyone again. And it can feel like a big risk to your heart to even have a friend again, or especially, just to be yourself. And you might feel like you were somehow flawed and unlikable. So you try to change yourself to fit in the future, to belong. And ultimately, you're just not sure you can allow your heart to connect again. That might feel way too risky.
Yeah, and there's such a lot of that going on in the world today. So that's another whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
But right now, we're not even talking about the physical intimacy, which comes up later in the ghost points. We're just talking about the key relationships in your life with your family, friends, coworkers, siblings, people, lovers, ex-lovers, we're just talking about the right in this lifetime right now.
Yeah. So ultimately, we're talking about freeing yourself from your heart pain.
Yes, the pain of losing connection, which makes you feel isolated and alone. And I think starts that domino effect of just going down that road that's not really, again, no judgment, but not a happy place usually.
And sometimes it's scary to let that go and go out and make more connections again and be yourself again.
And, perhaps that didn't work out in the past as always. So you're just like, why bother? Why try? Why even do this? Or I know how it's going to end. That would be a little watery, but still, all the elements have their reasons for not wanting to try.
Yeah. And let's talk about what to do to cultivate this point in your life. The first thing to recognize is that when this is off, you will feel defensive. That's what this is really about. If you're trying to be someone you're not, it's because you don't want to be you, because you're afraid people are going to judge who you really are. And that defensiveness that you feel, it comes from what we call is your heart protector. That's the outer aspect of the heart that protects the heart. And it's always trying to understand why. Why did this happen to you? Why did this happen to your heart? It's the part of you that creates stories about what happened.
And yes, and perhaps the stories are there to help you cope with the heart pain or the heart pains.
Yeah. So you might come up with some ideas about what happened. Like you were just too blank. And your heart protector fills in that blank. This happened to me because of blank. And that's the story. And then you want to avoid similar scenarios in the future. So when we're talking about this point, this ghost point, it's the story you tell about how you're wrong or deficient in some way. And maybe you just need to change to be someone you're not so that you can belong and be accepted. And this is the heart of the matter, not feeling accepted for who you are and then needing to defend against others seeing you for who you truly are, because that person you think you are is just wrong.
Yeah. Again, a lot of judgment here, a lot of, maybe some not healthy habits from the past. We're going to work on all of that. So your homework early, like if you choose to accept this, you can become the watcher again, which we always advocate when you're working on yourself. Ask yourself, what are the situations that make you feel defensive? And watch and see how often does that happen to you. See if this is a pattern in your life.
Yeah. Is that heart protector always on guard, trying to cover up your, in air quotes here, supposed deficiencies?
Yeah. And once you start to identify those situations that make you feel defensive, ask yourself if there are ways you begin to feel safe enough to reopen your heart to the outer world. Is someone else doing it, or are you doing it to yourself?
Yeah. Can you begin to mend your heart and return to the original state of your heart where you could connect freely with people? And this means you have to examine these beliefs that you have about yourself, these so-called deficiencies you thought you had.
Or were told that you had.
Yeah, because ultimately you're perfect the way you are. You're not actually deficient. You just came to believe that maybe something's wrong with you when you got hurt. That's a natural conclusion because we're always examining within ourselves whether we could do better or be better. It's our natural instinct. So our heart protectors are the ones creating those stories. So the goal here is to mend your heart and return it to a state where you can communicate freely and connect easily with others.
I like that. So I'm going to approve of that goal. Not all the elements like goals, but that's a good human goal, like as a regular person. So, all right, I love that. So let's move to the next point.
Yes, the next ghost
Let's move on
point.
down the road a little bit.
Yes. That's funny because the next point's called Ghost Road. Now, this is about your path in life. And the Taoists believe we come into this lifetime with a path we want to walk, a destiny path or a Tao path.
Something we feel like we need to fulfill, or some Taoists call it lessons we need to learn in this lifetime.
Yes, and we call it the curriculum of your lifetime. And in order to fulfill that curriculum, you need to have experiences. And some experiences are part of your destiny. And this is a highly debated topic in Taoism and really all world religions. The question is, are we merely subject to our fates, or do we have some kind of free will?
Some kind of choice that we can make in every moment or throughout our lifetimes is, one way to look at it.
And the consensus, at least in Taoist alchemy, is that we have a bit of both, some amount of choice and some destiny where there is no choice. Like, for example, it may be preordained that you're going to marry a specific person and have a certain number of children and maybe die at a specific age, or not. Some people don't believe that specifically, but this is the topic today. Can you start asking yourself, what do you believe about destiny?
What do you believe? And some people may have never even asked themselves this question.
Yeah. Do you believe there is no destiny, no Tao path that you need to follow? And maybe every single step you take is your choice, something you get to do however you want. And maybe there is no path you need to follow.
You could also call it a heart path. Some people feel like their hearts are leading them down their true path. And then sometimes they go against their hearts and do things they don't really want to do. And then maybe they're confused, or that detour, or they're starting to shut down again. No judgment. Again, no right, no wrong. But this is what we're talking about.
That's actually perfect, Jay, because in the end, whether you do or don't believe in your fated destiny, that's not that important for today's topic. It's whether you believe your life has meaning or not. Do the decisions you make matter?
Yeah, that's another great way of putting it, because is your heart able to tell you the right road to walk? And then your ultimate choice is whether to follow your heart's desire to walk that road or not even take a step.
Yeah.
Like not even.
Yeah. We always say it's about the next step, each step, the direction you take. Is it being dictated by your heart or by some other force in your life, like society or your parents or your siblings?
The usual list, right?
Yeah, the usual list.
So this concept that we're talking about today is taking the wrong path in life, one that feels wrong, one that your gut tells you, your instincts, whatever, and doing that due to negative life experiences in the past. Like we kind of, sometimes it's survival, sometimes it's, love, sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's whatever it is, that path. We know what they all are.
Yeah, let's say, to go back to our heart discussion, let's say you lose the love of your life to some kind of betrayal, and then your heart protector starts telling the story that love is no longer safe, and you become very jaded and cynical about love. And then the true love of your life walks into your life, offers you love, and you reject it, even though you really want to be with that person, because you just stop believing in the possibility of love.
Well, and I think that the first person you thought was the love of your life betrayed you. You get hurt, you shut down, and then perhaps the true love of your life walks in and you're not there to accept it
Yeah.
because of the pain.
Yep. Because you basically stop believing in the possibility of it anymore. And when we're born, when we're children, we naturally believe in all possibilities. But as we live life, sometimes we get shut down to those possibilities due to negative life experiences. And one of the things that causes us to feel old in life is the shutting down more and more of all those possibilities. It's like we lose the innocence of a child, of believing and hoping for more. And that's what this is about. How do we return to that level of hope in our lives when the past took away that hope? So for homework again.
Another part two. Right?
Yes,
There we
part
go.
2. This is about looking at your road in your life and whether you feel like you're walking the road you truly want to walk.
The road or the path that your heart is truly aligned with. That's the
Yeah.
big question. And we have meditations for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a side note.
And do you find you're sacrificing your path for someone else's path?
Or maybe you're sacrificing because you're simply afraid to walk that one that you truly want to take. You don't know. You got to kind of do your homework.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do know. You probably do know. So
And then there are the other reasons we might feel thwarted on our destiny's path, like we've lost control of our lives, maybe due to addictions that cloud the way. And in some cases, people have a block to their will. They can't move forward at all. They're just standing still.
yeah, and I think we're kind of just not really touching on the addictions, but just a little bit. Like that could be huge right now because there's so many distractions and addictions, and we kind of self-medicate through social media or scrolling or whatever, or on our devices all the time. That could be a way to keep you off the path.
Yes, totally.
And then maybe a blocked will.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes that leads to a block will, but sometimes you just have some addictions that are clouding your way.
Right.
And,
Absolutely.
Maybe it's time to not watch Netflix every night, for example.
Again, just be the watcher. Do your homework. Yes.
Yeah, you can figure that out.
And that's a judgment.
And maybe it's just about, you facing that addiction and just clearing it out of your life.
Yeah, and I'm not one for 2025, like New Year resolutions, but I think every day could be a way to look at your life and what you'd want to change. And again, we went back to that 100-day challenge just to drop a little hint there, put a pin in that first part, right?
Yeah.
Because this is where one of the things you could work on, for
Yeah,
sure.
to get some momentum to move forward. But in the case of a will block, there is no movement. It feels like no matter what, you're standing still. And in Chinese medicine, we do will block treatments, or some people call them external dragons treatments, to shift this kind of block. And the ghost points can also help with that. This point in particular can help with a will block. So it's just when people are stuck. They're really, really stuck. And that's not typical. Most people might feel stuck, but there's movement, there's momentum. So if you've got some movement, it's really more about you making the choice to walk your true path.
Yes. All right. I'm going to go homework part 3.
Okay.
Just being honest with yourself. You can journal. This is a great way to journal on this one. What's the way forward that you really want to take? And what's stopping you from moving forward? Ask yourself, what are you afraid of? If you do change that course of action, that's a big one. Can you shift it? Can you make those changes and still, have a life? Can you give yourself permission to do what you really want to do? Again, this is just another part of your homework for this week, if you choose to accept.
And no judgment here. It's okay if the answer is no. You can't find the way forward to walk the true path. That's okay. But it's really nice to be honest with yourself. That's the first step. And then recognize there might be a reason why you're doing what you're doing. And the reason might be compelling enough for you to stay the current course, even if it's not your true path.
Right. And but are you negotiating with yourself for other reasons, for extenuating circumstances or past trauma? So again, this is not always the feel good, hefty stuff, but you have to kind of wade through these weeds to try to see that there's light through the other end there. So.
And no one but you, not even us, not Jay and I, we can't say what's the right destiny path for you. Only you can know that.
I know people ask me all the time, just tell me what to do. Where do I go? I'm like, you got to work on your own path, but we can help you with the tools and just kind of give you some information to work on yourself. So those are the next two self-cultivation strategies for you. Feel free to let us know how your self-cultivation is going. Remember, self-cultivation, selfish in a good way.
Yeah, and you can reach out to us and email us at Lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or Jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
Yeah, a lot of homework. Sorry about that. But this is heart work. This is the ghost points. This is when you work through this stuff so you can
be authentic.
Be authentic and walk your path. Get on your road. Start your journey. It's all there waiting for you.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you a green light. Green light, go.
Yeah.
All right.
Down your road.
That's right. And so next podcast, we're going to move on to the things that affect our sleep and unconscious thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'll have to give you subconscious homework.
Yes.
Right?
There you go.
All right. I'm going to work on that. Okay. All right. See you next time or listen to you next time. I don't know. Goodbye. Bye. You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast and you've reached the end. Woohoo! Why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there. We love having you with us on this journey and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast. And if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at Lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or Jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening and remember to hug the dog.